Good triumph over evil. With gentleness, overcome anger. With charity, overcome stinginess. With truth, overcome deceit. This the Buddha taught. When the Lord was stormed by Mara, challenged to a battle by Ardhavaka, and attacked by the ferocious elephant, Nalagiri, he subdued them all with his perfection of giving, patience, and all-embracing love. By the power of that spiritual glory, may joyous victory be yours.
And good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Welcome once again to the weekly Sunday Puja and Dhamma sharing online, organized by Maha Satipatthana Buddhist Society and supported by our Buddhist Council of Malaysia. Today is the 30th of February 2022. To start today's puja, I shall pass the mic over to Brother Seng Huat. Over to you, Brother Seng Huat.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. A very good morning to one and all. Welcome to our regular Sunday Puja. I shall be reading the offering, the significance of offerings of the lights and the jaws and the water and the flowers. So let's compose ourselves. Let's prepare ourselves for this special morning puja. And we dedicate this verse to all those people, everybody who have supported us. If they cannot join us today also, we hope that they are all well. And for those who are not well, we hope that they will recover quickly. Right? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So we shall begin with offering of lights. May we offer these candles burning brightly out of deep respect and veneration to our enlightened master, the Buddha. May these lights symbolically guide us to the light of the Dhamma, which dispels the darkness of greed with the light of generosity, the gloominess of hatred with the light of love, the darkness of ignorance with the light of wisdom through the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Offering of joss sticks and incense. May we offer these joss sticks and incense out of deep respect and veneration to our beloved to our blessed Master, the Buddha. May the fragrance of these 𝐿 sticks and incense be pleasing unto the gods and devas. May our good deeds be like the fragrance of these 𝐿 sticks, cultivating compassion, patience, tolerance, understanding, and love towards all living beings. Offering of water. May we offer this water to symbolize our aspiration to cultivate the virtues of calmness, clarity, and purity. Let it remind us to diligently cleanse ourselves of our spiritual defilements and delusion through the cultivation of generosity, compassion, and wisdom. Offering of flowers. These flowers too we offer out of deep respect and gratitude to our blessed Master, the Buddha. These flowers, sweet, beautiful, and choice, are clustered at the feet of our noble Master. Beautiful as they are now, they will soon, with the passing of time, wilt and fade and be cast away. Reflecting thus on this very nature of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence, and soullessness, let us tread the path shown by the Buddha for the eradication of sufferings here and now. So let us start with this morning puja by saying sadhu 3 times as a mark of respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho. Vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manussanang buddha Do Bhagavati Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandittiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Opanayiko Pacchatang Veditabbo Vinyuhiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakhineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyakketang Lokassati Vandami Cetiyang Sabbang Sabbatanesu Patittitang Saririka Dhatu Mahabodhing Buddha Rupang Sakalang Sada Yassa Mule Nisinnova Sabbari Vijayang Aka Patto Sabbanyutang Satta Vande Tang Bodhipadapang Ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita ahang pite namassami bodhi raja namatute ganasarappadittena dipena tamadang sina Tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Ganda sambhara yuttena dupenahang sugandhina Pujaye pujaniyantang puja bhajana muttamang Adivase tuno bante paniyang varikappitang anukampang upadaya patigan hatu muttamang Adivase tuno bante bojanang varikappitang Anukampang upadaya patigan hatu muttamang Adivase tuno bante gilana paccayang imang Anukampang upadaya patigan hatu muttamang Vanda ganda guno petang etang kusuma santating pujayami munindassa siripada saroruhe pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena metena ca hotu mokkang Puppang milayati yata idang me kayo tatayati vinasa bhavang akasatta ca bummatta Devanaga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Loka Sasanang Akasatta Cha Bhummatta Devanaga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Desanang Akasatta Cha Bhummatta Devanaga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Mang Paranti Devo Vasatu Kalena Sasa Sampatti Hetucha Pito Bhavatu Loko Cha Raja Bhavatu Dhammiko Idang me nyati nang otu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang me nyati nang otu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang me nyati nang otu sukita hontu nyatayo Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya kayena vaca Tena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame bante buri panya tathagata kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame dhamma sandit Tika akalika kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara Metta Sutta Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisamecca sakko ujuca sujuca suvaco cassa mudu anatimani santus sakoca suvaroca appakit Coca sallahuka buddhi santindriyo ca nipako ca appagabbo kulesu ananugiddo naca kuddang samacare kinci yena vinyu pare upavadeyung Sukino va kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta ye kecipana bhutatti tasava tavarava anavasesa jigava ye mahantava mat Jimarasakanugatula Dittava yeva aditta ye cadure vasanti avidure Bhutava sambhavesi va be satta bhavantu sukitatta naparo parang nikubbeta nati manyeta katta chinang kanchi biaro sanapatiga sanya nanya manya sadukha micceya mata yatha niyang puttang ayusa eka putta manurake evang pisabba bhutesu manasang bhavaye aparimanang mettang ca sabba lokasming manasang bhavaye aparimanang uddang adocha tiriyancha asang badang averang asapattang Tittang charang nisinno va sayano va yavata savigata middo etang sating aditteya brahma metang viharang idamahu dittinca anupagamma silava dasanena sampanno kamesu vinaya gedang nahi jatu gappaseyang punareti ti. Etena sajja vajjena sottite hotu sappada etena sajja vajjena sottite hotu sappada etena sajja vajjena sottite hotu sappada. By this truth, may all be well and happy always. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So over to you, Brother Terence.
Brother Seng Huat, for today's puja. Today, Brother Seng Huat is back with us to share on gratitude. Now let's hear from Brother Seng Huat what he has to say. Over to you, Brother Seng Huat.
Thank you, Brother Terence. Good morning, 𝐶𝐿 everybody. Before I begin, I would just like to pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. We have just celebrated our Chinese New Year, and I believe many of us have got gatherings, meals together, good food, caring and sharing, and this is also an opportunity in which we get to meet up long lost friends and relatives, and it's also the time where we get to wear new clothes, and in keeping with traditions, we also pay respect to our elderly before we receive the ang pao. So this is also a mark of respect, to seek forgiveness, as well as to show our gratitude to the elder. And these are things that they have done a lot for us. And it's also time for us to meet many relatives, especially for this year, As you know, last year was COVID, and we have actually not been meeting each other for close to 2 years. And for this year, for the first time, many of us are able to meet up, including even relatives from overseas. I've got my own niece and nephews who actually flew back from Singapore. So it is really good to be able to catch up with them again, right? So with so much good food, good new clothing, food, meeting up, bonding, I think we have got a lot of to be thankful to, and I think we should be grateful. And today, my topic here is on daily gratitude, and I think it is timely because for all the blessings and all the good things that we've actually enjoyed thus far, it's also time for us to learn to be grateful, right? So before I proceed, let's look at what is gratitude actually. We all know, being grateful is very, very important. Let's look at what's gratitude. Okay? Actually, gratitude is a mental state of mind, right? It is something that is in our mind, and I think it is not a skill, it is not an action, but it is really what in our mind and our perceptions. And what is that mental state of mind is acknowledgement that there is goodness. And what is this goodness? I'll give you an example. All right. We are grateful that the Buddha have actually taught us the Dhamma, right? And it has taught us the what is suffering, the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path. And to me, that's goodness to us. It actually taught us how to deal with suffering. All right, that's one example. And actually, for that matter, we should be grateful to Lord Buddha. And the other example of goodness here is that our parents have actually brought us up, and actually they've cared for us, they've loved us, they've actually provided food, clothing, educations, and they've ensured that we are well protected and we're given spiritual development. That again is another acknowledgement of goodness. I think this is something that we need to be mindful of. Very often they're not as children. Sometimes we forget what our parents have done for us. Similarly, today, I think all of us have got children. We would expect the same thing, that they acknowledge that what they have received or what we have received from our parents are actually goodness. All right. I was just talking to Brother Lengwat this morning about new car that that he got from his children, and I said this is the real blessings, and at least the children is able to acknowledge that what he has done, sacrifices that he has made, and definitely this is an acknowledgement of goodness that they have received. All right, okay, and of course not only the Buddha and our parents, but we also have got our spiritual leaders, who have actually helped us to guide us. All right. And we must actually be able to pay back or at least show gratitude to them, right? Be it our school teacher, be it our spiritual leaders, all right? Including also, if we have got good bosses in office, I think we must also know that, we may show gratitude to them to say that, they have actually done a lot of things for us. And that goodness has also benefited us, all right? As we know, knowing the Dhamma actually has benefited us. We know what are the good qualities and what are the qualities that we should avoid. For example, the basic one of 5 precepts. What are the things that we should, observe? We should not kill, steal, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicant. And by knowing that goodness, it has benefited us. It has prevented us from landing ourselves in trouble. All right. So these are things that actually benefited us. And I think this mental state of mind that we have, we must, number one, acknowledge the goodness, and that goodness has benefited us. Now, if we cannot acknowledge the goodness, and we cannot acknowledge that that goodness has benefited us, then we will not be able to appreciate gratitude. I think that's very important. And very often they're not everyone actually accepted or be able to show gratitude. I was just also sharing just now that some children, you spend so much money, so much time, so much love for them, but they will never be able to appreciate that goodness. They think that as a parent, it's your responsibility to raise them up, and they don't owe you anything. I think that is the problem that we have sometimes. Later on, I will share with you what the Buddha had to say about this in the other suttas. Okay. Now, the next item here is a feeling of appreciation towards someone, something, or situation. So gratitude is the two part here. One is a mental state of mind. The other one is a feeling of appreciation towards someone, something, or situation. All right. When you say feeling of appreciation towards someone, for example, we talk about the Buddha himself. All right. I always admire the Buddha because he's got the 9 good qualities in which I think it's difficult for us to follow unless we ourselves are Arahant or the Buddha. All right. So we must be able to appreciate that person because he has actually helped us many, many ways. He has taught us, the teaching of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and by following the Dhamma, actually it will eventually benefit us, and we appreciate it. Similarly, in the case of our parent, the closest at home is our parent, for example. I think they have actually done a lot for us. Right? They have sacrificed a lot for us, and I think in many ways, they have helped us to be who we are today. And I think we definitely need to appreciate them very much. All right, that's only relating to our parents, but also some things. All right, like in the case of the Buddha, he actually showed appreciations to the tree. The tree, they provided him protections during the period when he was actually, aspiring and to in his quest for enlightenment. Right, he sat under the Bodhi tree. Right, and of course. That is also a feeling of appreciation that we can give to a tree in the case of the Buddha. Right? Of course, in the case of ourselves, there are also the feeling of appreciation. I mean, in my mind, I was just thinking that if, for example, you lost a wallet, and eventually, for whatever reason, you found it back. To me, that is a feeling that you feel like, oh dear, I found my wallet. And I feel very grateful that I'm able to find back my wallets. All right. Or in the case of a situation, say for example, you're rushing for a meeting, and you expected traffic to be very bad, but somehow or other traffic clear on the day, and you're able to make it on time. So that feeling of appreciation is really a mental state of feeling, in which you feel very good about it, and you tell yourself to say that, oh, good. I'm on time for the meeting. All right. So that is a feeling of appreciations. Now, the feeling of appreciations can be done in 3 ways, all right? By thought, words, and actions. What are the example of my thoughts? So let's say, for example, when you're doing meditations on loving kindness, all right? During the metta meditation, normally, you shower loving kindness and compassion towards your parents, towards your relative, towards your elderly friends, religious teachers. All right, that's one example in which you show appreciation through your thoughts. And the other one, which to me is quite meaningful here, is for those of you, like my case, both my parents have passed away. So what we do, we actually show appreciations by dedicating merits. When we do a merits, especially when we offer dana to the monks. All right. So we will in our mind share or dedicate a merits to our departed parents, and we wish that they will receive the merits, and hopefully they will rejoice the merits that we have shared with them, and that they will benefit from these merits. All right. Now. There are so many other things that we can also do in terms of thoughts. For example, morning reflections. All right. I think it is a good habit for us to get up in the morning. First thing we should do here is to reflect on how grateful we are. All right. For example, number one, we're grateful that we are able to get up and feeling healthy. All right. And we are grateful, to the fact that we've got our loved one with us, our children are sound asleep. For example, previous night it was heavy rain, and our there's no leak, coming through the roof. All right. And this morning when we switch on our lights, the lights come on, and when we switch on the tap water flows out. So things like that. So we can actually do morning reflections. That is through the thoughts. What about by words? Well, we can show appreciation by, by saying a simple thank you, okay, or showing, providing words of appreciation to our elderly, all right, or say something nice to them, all right, that will make them happy. And of course, if they are not well, give them some words of comfort, give them some motivations, all right. And in a case whereby they are far away, you can either call them or you can even text them, all right, and share the words of compassion to them. So these are things that you can do to show your appreciation towards someone, all right. What about by actions? Well, I think there are a lot more that we can do, all right. So, for example, if recently when I visited my auntie, and she is weak actually, she's about 80 plus, she can't walk. So we can actually show appreciation for what she has done by just simply helping her, because she fall down and she can't get up. So just help her and put her on the chair, all right. Or in a case whereby during New Year, I've got some relative who come and visit us, or we visited them and they can't they can't walk properly. We can actually help them to ensure that there's some form of touching, some form of hugging. I think it means a lot to them, especially to the elderly people. All right, and of course we can protect them when they are vulnerable. All right, we can care for them if they are sick, and of course we feed them when they're hungry. So these are things that we can do, all right, to show gratitude. And gratitude is very important. I mean, it helps us to also achieve happiness. There's a saying that gratitude and happiness are like twin brothers. When you have gratitude, you will definitely be able to find happiness, and vice versa. Right. Let's go to the next topic on gratitude. I think there's nobody better than Lord Buddha himself to show us what he has done, where he actually exhibited great qualities in terms of gratitude. Now, as we know, the Buddha spent 6 years, 6 challenging years, when working very hard to achieve enlightenment. And of course, upon his enlightenment, all right, of course, the first week after his enlightenment, he actually sat under the Bodhi tree. He was enjoying the bliss of happiness, bliss of enlightenment. All right, he was enjoying himself. And in the second week after his enlightenment, he actually spent 1 whole week gazing at a tree that sheltered him. All right, without moving, as a mark of gratitude and thanks to the Bodhi tree that's actually provided him with a shelter. Okay, against of course sun and rain. Okay, now the Buddha as enlightened being is so humble enough to pay gratitude to the tree. All right, I think this is a huge qualities that we should actually emulate. I mean, if you can show gratitude to a tree that actually provided him shelter, as compared to us, where our parents have brought us up into this world and care for us and love us. I think we must also be able to show a lot of gratitude to our parents. So this is an example in which the Buddha have actually shown us gratitude, gazing at the tree that sheltered him. Now, 7 weeks after his enlightenment, all right, the Buddha actually went to search for his 5 disciples, because he thought that his 5 disciples, they are ready to be able to understand his teaching, and he's trying to help them to understand the Dhamma, so that they can be free from birth, aging, sickness, and death. All right. So he actually went around looking for the 5 disciples. All right. As we know, this is basically also part of gratitude towards his friends. All right. They are Maha, Nama, Konanya, Badia, Bapa, and Asaji. Okay. And we know that the first sermon that he gave to his 5 disciples are Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or Setting the Wheel of Dhamma, in which he expounded the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. All right. And of course, after listening to the Dhamma, they all attained arhanships. All right. So what can we learn from this? Okay, though the Buddha is enlightened, he continued to exhibit the quality of gratitude. All right. Now, the next example here is basically upon his enlightenment, he was also looking for his former teacher. All right, he's got 2 teachers before he became a Buddha, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputra. They both taught him meditations, different levels of jhanas. All right, so unfortunately, both of them actually have passed away before him. All right. So again, here you can see that the Buddha does remember his teachers, and he is very grateful to them, and he actually wanted to share the Dhamma to them so that they will also be free from the cycle of birth and death. All right. Now, in the Mangala Sutta, as we know, in the Mangala Sutta, the deities came down to ask the Buddha what constitute blessings. And I think the Buddha has expounded there are altogether 38 blessings. But I'm just trying to pick up this particular relevant one. It says here, to be respectful, humble, contented, and grateful, and listen to the Dhamma on due occasion. This is the greatest, blessings. All right. So, if we can exhibit gratitude as a matter of habits, okay, it constitutes a blessing. All right. And we know that when we are blessed with such habit, which is basically to be respectful, humble, contented, and learning to be grateful, there are many benefits to it, such as protection against misfortune, living a calm and peaceful life. Right. So these are some of the examples in which the Buddha actually showed us the way as to how to how to exhibit an attitude of gratitude, all right, towards a tree, towards a person, and towards a teacher. All right. Okay. Now, in the next slides, as we all know, Sariputta is one of the 2 followers of the Buddha. It's actually 2 chief disciples, basically. Right. Besides Venerable Sariputta, there is another reverend called Venerable Moggallana. Now, Sariputta actually, during his lifetime, has exhibited a lot of fine qualities. All right. And let us go through 2 Dhammapadas, in which, in this particular Dhammapadas, the Buddha have explained what Sariputta have done. So in Dhammapada 392, it says here, if from someone one should learn the teaching of the Buddha, one should respectfully pay homage to that teacher, as a Brahmin worship the sacrificial fire. So in this particular Dhammapada stories, it is mentioned that Venerable Sariputta actually attained the first sainthood, which is Satipatthana, not with the direct teaching of the Buddha. Actually, he heard as a verse from Venerable 𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐺. As we know, Venerable 𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐺 is one of the 5 disciples that were involved in, that listens to the first discourse provided by the Buddha. This is what he said. Ye Dhamma Itupa Bhava Te Sang Tathagato Aha Te Sangcha Yo Nirodo Evam Vadi Maha Samano, which basically means the Tathagata or the Buddha has declared the cause and also the cessation of all phenomena which arise from the cause. This is the teaching held by great monk. Venerable Sariputta always paid respect in the direction where Venerable 𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐺 was, and he went to sleep with his head lying in the same directions. Because of this simple verse, Venerable Sariputta attained Satipatthana, and he was so grateful. He was so grateful to Venerable 𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐺 that he actually, followed the direction in which where that 𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐺 is, and whenever he sleeps. Of course, some monks were not very happy, and they reported what Sariputta was doing to Lord Buddha. All right, they was saying that Sariputta is actually deviating from the teaching. He was actually praying to different directions, and the Buddha actually confronted Venerable Sariputta, right? And Sariputta actually did explain to say that he did it out of sheer gratitude and respect to his teachers. And of course, the Buddha understand gratitude and respect, and he in fact supported what Sariputta had done, and actually he encouraged the other monks to follow example, not in terms of stepping in a different direction, but in terms of gratitude and respect. There must be a lot of gratitude and respect to the teacher that actually taught you. All right. So from Dhammapada 392 itself, we can see that Venerable Sariputta have actually exhibited fine example of gratitude. Now, the other Dhammapadas also show what Sariputta have done. In Dhammapada 76, it says that the Buddha says that one should follow a man of wisdom who rebuke one's for one's fault, as one would follow a guide to some buried treasure. To one who follows such a wise man, it will be an advantage and not a disadvantage. Here, I think generally what the Buddha is trying to say here is that person who is easy to acknowledge, who is humble enough to learn, he will he will have a lot of advantages rather than disadvantages. So this particular Dhammapada has a story behind it. The story was about Radha, who was a poor old Brahmin who stayed in a monastery and helping the Sangha with small matters. So the Sangha provided him with food, clothing, and dwelling. He wanted to become a monk and asked permission from them. Because of his old age, no one wanted to help him. But the Buddha, with his supernormal power, knew that he was due for arahantship, he referring to Radha. So he called all the monks and asked them if there was anyone who had received Radha offerings before. Again here, he reflected, what he's trying to teach the rest here is that gratitude. He's trying to say that, if Radha has given you an offering before, then as a mark of gratitude, or you should accept him and help him. So Venerable Sariputta told the Buddha that Radha had offered him a spoonful of rice, one spoonful only, yeah. And therefore he asked Venerable Sariputta to receive him as his disciple and train him. And of course here, Venerable Satipatthana ordained him and trained him. So again, you can see that even though Radha has only offered him one spoonful of rice, many years, long time ago, and yet he remembered and he helped. Okay, he helped old monk Radha. So old monk Radha was easy to acknowledge, and followed his instructions strictly. That within a few days, Radha, the old monk, became an arahant. Okay, so here was Venerable Sariputta, even remembered very clear, Radha as a layman offered him a spoonful of rice very long time ago. So from these two stories, it clearly shows that beside the Buddha, Venerable Sariputta is someone who has got lots of gratitude, right? And for one to be able to exhibit gratitude, one must be humble. Right? Now, in the next slides, as I mentioned just now, gratitude and happiness is like a twin brother. Okay, let's look at what happiness means. So the Dalai Lama mentioned here that in order to be happy, we must first possess inner contentment, and inner contentment does not come from having all we want, but rather from wanting and appreciating, being grateful for all we have. Okay, so I like this quote, because it touches on happiness. It is simple but meaningful. It is an inner contentment that comes from our state of mind. Again here, inner contentment. So our mind must be satisfied and peaceful. That's the only way to be. The only way to be satisfied and peaceful is to be contented with what we have. Contented what we have, being grateful what we have now, and not crave for more. So, for example, if we have an old junk, we should just learn to be happy with whatever we have. Of course, it doesn't mean that we will continue to keep it, but learn to appreciate and have what we have. Of course, if you can afford it, and if somebody is generous enough to buy you a new car, for example, your son, then appreciate what you have. All right, appreciate what we have. I think the problem with a lot of us here is that we crave for more, and we start craving for more, then you find that there's never-ending sufferings, and it's difficult for us to achieve happiness. We continue to want more and more and more and more. Nobody is going to be very happy about it. Let's look at the next topic on searching for happiness. Now, all of us are always searching for happiness, and we always think that happiness is, hidden somewhere behind some problems, and because of that, we are always in the problem-solving mode. For example, we think that we will be happy if we got a new job, okay? Or we will be happy if we got a bigger house, right? Or we happy if we got more money. That's what we think it is. And for example, if we say we have got more money, we will be happy when we got more money, then what do? We try to solve that problem because we've got a gap between what we have now and, let's say, for example, we have 100,000, we think if we got 1 million, we will be happy. So, of course, we start working towards 1 million. But unfortunately, once we achieve 1 million, we say, the 1 million is not enough. 1 million doesn't make me very happy. I want 2 million. All right. So, because we are always searching and our expectations are always changing, we will never be happy. All right. That's why Mahatma Gandhi mentioned that the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. I think this is very, very true. Okay. So, if we continue to crave for more, we will never be happy. Okay. Now, happiness to me can be achieved. Can be just being content with what we have. All right. So contentment is what we have. Contentment with whatever we have today. If we got a house, we should be contented with whatever we have today. If we got a house, a small house, doesn't matter. Okay. So long it doesn't give us problem, we should be contented. But having said that, it doesn't mean that when you're contented with a house, it is sinful for you to aim for a better house. It's not sinful at all. But whatever you have now, if you can learn to be contented, I think we will be happy. All right, we will be happy. Definitely, we'll be happy. All right, and of course, how can we be contented? We can only be contented if we focus on what we have. So, like what Dhamma 204 also mentioned, that health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth. I think a trusted friend is the best relative. Nibbana is the greatest place. But in this Dhamma 204, I would like to focus on contentment is greatest wealth. I think it is very, very true. Okay. So long as we are not contented, no amount of wealth will make us happy. All right. If we are not contented, no amount of wealth will make us happy. But if we are contented, then any amount of wealth will make us happy. All right. I think, and that's very, very important for us to understand that. All right. And of course, appreciation of what we have today is very, very important. All right. Say, for example, we appreciate, our spouse, and we are grateful that our spouse is able to prepare, food on table, provide clean clothing, and take care of the house, and we are grateful to our spouse. I think, that will actually definitely make us happy. All right, and focus on the present, focus on what we have. I think very often they're not. One, we don't know how to appreciate what we have. Two, we are always aiming for something that is not within our grasp, but that is something that we want, the dreams that we have. And because we are not able to appreciate what we have, we're always trying to aim for something that is not with us. We forget to appreciate, and when we forget to appreciate what we have, there's no gratitude. And there's no gratitude, how can you find happiness? All right. So that's why I say just now that happiness and gratitude actually they're like twin brothers. All right. If you have gratitude, then you find that you can find happiness, what do you call it, easily. And of course, in between happiness and gratitude, contentment. That means to say that be contented what we have today. That actually becomes very important for us to understand, so that we can, at the end of the day, be happy. All right. Now, in this Dhammapada 204 itself, there's a story behind it. The story here is that the King Pasenadi actually, he's actually apparently known to be quite a food lover. He likes to eat. So during that period, he actually ate about half bushels of rice. When I search, it's almost 16 liters of rice and make curry. So after eating so much, he attended the Buddha's talk at Jetavana Monastery. And of course, when you have a heavy, full stomach, you can never focus on listening to the talk. So the Buddha noted that he was really nodding, he was slipping away, right? So, the Buddha then advised him to say that he must cut down his rice, slowly, but eventually to 1/6 of the amount that he was eating. And he actually followed the Buddha advice, right? So when he followed the Buddha advice, his weight reduced, he becomes thinner, it becomes lighter, and he was enjoying good health thereafter. He reported the matter to Buddha, right? And then the Buddha said, "Oh King, health is the greatest gift, contentment is the greatest wealth, a trusted friend is the best relative, Nibbana is the greatest bliss." So again here, what he's trying to say here is when you're contented with just eating enough, okay, it is the greatest wealth. All right. Okay. Now, the next thing here is being grateful, a reflection. This is basically a reflection of my life journey. Now, I think not many of you know that actually I've got a very big family, and I need to say that I've got basically 10 brothers and sisters altogether, including my parents. We've got 12. So we have got enough members to form a football team plus one reserve. All right. So we've got that big family members. And then my father was a breadwinner. Of course, because we got big family, we could not afford many extras in terms of food and material things. But my father ensured, or rather my parents ensured that we were together. Okay, money was tight. Now this one is except my younger sister who was adopted by my own relative. This is also on the request of my own grandfather. All right, but nevertheless we are still in touch. So because there's so many of us and we do not have luxury, we would always learn to share what we have. And there are many hands been down, especially clothing. For sisters, from the elders hand out to the youngest, and brothers and the elders. So I will hand out to all my brothers, younger brothers. The life was tough, but because there's many of us, we were happy being together. I was grateful to my late parents for raising many of us to be good and filial kids. I must say that we are filial. We are not, all of us are still together, all right? And I was also grateful to my brothers, my sisters-in-law, brother-in-laws, for staying close and for being together. So I recall that when my late mom was terminally ill, and basically she was bedridden and I was working overseas then, they all took turn to care for my mom, right? So every week when I travel back from Indonesia to see my mom, I'm touched, to see that my late mom was well taken care of. All right. Now earlier on when we were younger, we used to joke about it that my parents was poor and well, but rich in kids, because with many of us. And the wonderful thing about it is that they are able to teach and guide us to be good kids. So I'm really amazed as how they can do it. Those days, parents can take care of so many children. But we have actually seen that when the parents are old, sometimes not one kid can take care of the parents. So the parents have been kicked from house to house, and eventually they are actually placed into the homes. So, it hurts me when I see all these things happening. So that's why I say I'm grateful that for both my parents, well, we managed to care for them until their last breath. So in that sense, I'm grateful. Yeah. Now, of course, today they are not around anymore, and we can still show gratitude by, by like what we see just now, by doing offering dana to the monk during their death anniversaries and also auspicious occasions. We will then invite the monks to our homes, and then we will dedicate the merits to both my late dad and mom as a symbol of gratitude, right? Now, growing up, failure is temporary unless you make it permanent. Well, I was the eldest. I'm the eldest in the family, and growing up, as I said, that we are from humble background, can't afford to further studies. I stopped my studies after Form 5, but actually that does not prevent me from getting what I want. Right? So because money was tight, and therefore I decided to work and study at the same time, right? And I like this quote because to me, not able to further study is a temporary failure, but it does not prevent me from pursuing my dreams, right? And well, I managed to complete my professional exams. Okay, that's one part of to me an example of a temporary failure. The other part about temporary failure is this. I've always wanted to work in a uniform, be it police, army, or the government, or the teachers. And I've actually submitted lots and lots of applications to try to get a job in those fields. Unfortunately, it was all rejected. Of course, I was disappointed at that point in time, right? But on reflections, I was grateful that I'm able to find an alternative work and meet a lot of beautiful people, right? So when I reflect back on the failures that I have in my earlier lives, I realized that actually those failures to me are temporary. I think to all of us, failures are always temporary unless you make it permanent. If you don't work hard, if you don't put in your energy and you don't persevere, then you find that temporary failures can be permanent. All right. Similarly, when you are successful, don't take things for granted because it can also be temporary unless you continue to put in effort, right? And I again here like to count my blessings because throughout my life, I think, and I believe all of us, we have got many crossroads in my life, right? In my case, I've got a lot of crossroads, during my life, and in all these crossroads, I met lots of beautiful people, beautiful colleagues, beautiful friends, right? And they've actually helped me, in my career, in my life, right? And even during the time when I, suffered cancer, the amount of the amount of people that actually gave me all kinds of medications, all kinds of advice, I'm touched basically. So I count myself very, very lucky, and I feel blessed, right? Now, I've just recently retired, beginning of 2022, right? And of course, just before I retired, I wrote a message to all my bosses and colleagues. That's quite a normal practice. Instead of writing the usual stuff about what you're going to do after retirement, I decided to make slight change. I decided to actually pay tributes to all the bosses and colleagues who have helped me, in my career. These are people I don't know, but they have actually created a lot of impact in my career, in my life, right? So, and instead of writing in general, I actually name one by one what they've done for me. And of course, I sent it out. And after sending it out, I felt good. Of course, some of my bosses replied to me immediately, and and they were also touched by my humility. But the point here is that I felt grateful that these are people that I do not know. They are not my relatives, they are not my friends. They're just the colleagues that I met in the office. But somehow or other, of course, we are professionals, and they help me. All right. Of course, I must be good myself. But the point here is that these are the people that actually helped me to grow in my career, and in a way, also helped me to impact my life. So when you write something, a tribute to people who have actually made an impact in your life, it's actually like reliving the goodness that they've done to you, and that's how I felt, right? So nothing like either saying it, writing it, verbalizing it, showing it to whoever whom you appreciated, to actually feel how grateful you are. It's just like looking at your own parents and say, thank you, mom, thank you, dad, for raising me and for guiding me and for loving me all these years. Right? I mean, for those of you who still have your parents, I think it's not too late to say that in their face, to say that we appreciated what they've done for you. Of course, there are other ways in which you can pay tribute to them. Right? I mean, by showing actions lah. I mean, you think that they need a new car, for example, like I know our brother what. Then he's so fortunate that he got children who are able to exhibit great gratitude, giving a better car because his car is old. So that is one way in which you can do it. All right. So very, very important for us to ensure that we verbalize our our gratitude and show our gratefulness to people that we love. All right. Okay. Now, in the 𝐾𝐡𝐚𝐲 Sutta on gratitude, okay, again here, the Blessed One said, now, what is the level of person of no integrity? A person of no integrity is ungrateful and unthankful. This is ingratitude. This lack of thankfulness is advocated by rude people. It is entirely on the level of people with no integrity. A person of integrity is grateful and thankful. This gratitude, this thankfulness is advocated by civil people. It is entirely on the level of people of integrity. So in the 𝐾𝐡𝐚𝐲 Sutta, what it's trying to say here is that it talks about the people who are grateful and the people who are not grateful. I think in life, we do meet both type of people. I mean, I've also met a lot of such people in office. The people who think that the whole world owes them a living, or they think that the organization owes them a living, and there's no reason for them to be grateful, no reason for them to show gratitude. All right, and I think like what the Buddha said, we can group these people as rude people, people who does not appreciate, who does not reciprocate. Just like us. I mean, when we are young, if we are able to show gratitude towards our parents, towards our teacher, I know we may not say it, but deep inside us, as parents ourselves, we would expect our children to show gratitude to us, to be grateful to us, to be grateful with what we have actually given to them. Unfortunately, some do, some don't, right? But these are things that we have to accept, right? So what 𝐾𝐡𝐚𝐲 Sutta has taught us here is that, of course, we still have to live with the people who are not grateful, but we ourselves, we have to reflect how should we exhibit gratefulness to the people who have actually, who have actually done a lot of goodness to us, and that we have benefited from the goodness that they have done. And how do we exhibit their appreciations? I think that's very important. All right. Okay. That's the first part of the sutta itself. Okay. Now, of course, the grateful people are people who are humble generally. they are easy to demolish, and you find that for these grateful people, right, they are generally one who will eventually rise, not only career-wise, but I think spiritually, if they're humble enough to learn, they will then benefit in terms of, getting themselves improved, both spiritually and career-wise. In fact, when you are grateful, you're nice to people. When you're nice to people, you find that, you build better relationship with others, all right? But if you are ungrateful, you are one, we call it hard to demolish, huh? And we are hard to demolish, then you find that nobody wants to try to train you up, Nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to help you, because they know that, no point talking to one who is not grateful, or we call it rude people, because they will never listen to you. They always think that they will be right. And after a while, you find that people desert them. And especially if you're working in an office, right? You have got people who refuse to listen to the bosses or even colleagues. Then you find that after a while, nobody is going to mix with them, and they'll be very lonely, right? And it is to their own detriment that if they do not, be humbled and listen to the people. All right. Now, second part of 𝐾𝐻𝐿𝐴 Suttas talks about the two persons that's not easy to repay. It says here, I tell you, monk, there are two people who are not easy to repay. Which two? Your mother and your father. Right. Even if you were to carry your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other shoulder for 100 years, and were to look after them by anointing or put oil on their head and body, massaging them, bathing them, and rubbing their limbs, and they were to defecate and urinate right there, on your shoulder, you will not in that way pay or repay your parents. If you were to establish your mother and father in absolute sovereignty over this great earth, abounding in 7 treasures, you will not in that way pay or repay your parents. Why is that? Mother and father do much for their children. They care for them, they nourish them, they introduce them to the world. But anyone who rouses his unbelieving mother and father, settles and establishes them in convictions, rouses his unvirtuous mother and father, settles and establishes them in virtue, rouses his stingy mother and father, settles and establishes them in generosity, rouses his mother and father, settles and establishes them in discernment. To this extent, one pays and repays one's mother and father. Here the sutta is trying to say that it is difficult for us to repay the deeds that our parents have done for us. Right? They've actually they've done so much for us. Okay, so the only way, according to the Buddha in this 𝐾𝐻𝐿𝐴 Sutta, is that there are 4 areas in which we can do for them. One here is to create good saddha in them, which is the convictions. And 2 is to ensure that we teach them virtues, right? If we can bring them to the Dhamma, okay, and as a result of which they become more virtuous, then there's also one way in which you can help them. And of course, if our father and mother is stingy, then how do we ensure that eventually they become generous, all right? And of course, whether when we teach them to make good judgment, to be conscientious, all right, from one who is not conscientious to be conscientious, then that's one of the ways in which we can repay our parents. Right? So 𝐾𝐻𝐿𝐴 Sutta is very important. It actually taught gratitude, and it also taught us how to be grateful. And in the case of our parents, mother and father, if they are still alive, then we can still repay them, but we have to ensure that these 4 virtues is built into them, right? Now, practicing gratitude. So the year of the tiger, water tiger, we are actually in the year of the tiger. Okay, as gratitude is a mental state of mind, we need to put into practice, just like meditation. As I mentioned just now, that gratitude is mental state of mind. Okay. Now, if meditation teaches us to relax and focus on breathing in and out, for example, gratitude requires us to practice daily reflections. Of course, the more we practice, the better we get. It would be good to practice our gratitude first thing in the morning when we get up from the bed. Okay? Right? It has been scientifically proven also that if you were to practice, put into practice for more than 21 continuous days, especially in the case of daily reflections, then it becomes a habit. It becomes a good habit. All right. So gratitude reflection is a good habit, and if we have not done it previously, we can start putting the right effort to practice daily reflections on gratitude. Okay. Now we can start by reflecting what we are grateful for. I think there are many things that we're grateful for. I think if we were to get up the first thing in the morning, which we always assume, okay, what do? We on the lights. Okay. Do we realize that actually somebody somewhere is actually ensuring that the power supply is always there? So we should be grateful that there's somebody who actually help us to ensure there's lights. And the next thing we do here is water. We on the tap or we go to the toilet, we flush. We always assume that there's always water. But I think we learn to be grateful that there is water, then it's also a good reflection for us. These are things that we assume. But, if you learn to reflect, then you realize that there are people out there working day and night, ensuring that there's water supply, there's clean water supply to our tank. All right. And the third thing here is that internet connections. Today, none of us can work without internet. In fact, today's talk is not possible if suddenly the internet failed. All right. So again, here we should be grateful for having these internet connections. And the other, of course, is phone network and delivery guys, and not forgetting the people who actually, especially our spouse, who actually prepare breakfast for us in the morning. Okay, making sure that the beds are made, the house been swept, and things like that. So there are a lot of things that we can be grateful of. And I think if we can learn to reflect these daily reflections, it will actually build good habit for us, that we know that somebody there is doing something good for us and we have benefited from that goodness. All right. Now, of course, reflect on how many people have served you. This is actually an extension of what I mentioned just now. All right. That the lights, the water, the electricity, somebody out there must be working very hard for you. And if you have to go to work by bus or LRT, all right, you must understand that there are people there who are actually ensuring that the train is working, the bus is working. All right. And in the office, go to the office, you notice that there are people who actually serve you drinks. There are people who open the door for you. There are people who actually ensure that the street is safe for you to walk around. So again, here, when you reflect back, there are many people who have actually served you, either directly or indirectly. But let's start off with the home. Let's start with the home, because home is where it's either your children or your parents or your spouse who are actually helping you to make sure that everything is possible. All right. So it is good for us to reflect, and by reflecting and being grateful to these people, they help us to be humble. And when they help us to be humble, it helps us to be contented and not be less demanding. All right. Now, when faced with difficulty, make an effort to practice gratitude. Let me share with you how I do it. Right? So, this is especially so when we're in office, when we have problems. Like in my previous, experience, I was in charge of technology and operations, and when the system is down, it will give me sleepless nights, right? And of course, the way I approach it is very simple. I ask myself, first of all, can I do something about it? Right? I mean, if I can't do something about it, worry will not help me. But if I can do something about it, right, I will do something about it to ensure that the problem is solved. All right. And after the problem is solved, I will, reflect back and say that, well, at least the problem is solved. I'm grateful that the problem is solved. Whether it's solved by me or solved by somebody else, of course, if it's somebody else who helped me to resolve the problem, I'm grateful to that person or that company that helped me to resolve it. All right. So it's always very important to say that when you have difficulty, try to reflect, because that will actually help you to be humble, to appreciate the people who are there to help you. All right. So it is good to have this this attitude of gratitude. I call it attitude of gratitude. So whenever there are problems, always have this attitude of gratitude. Right. Of course, last but not least, Dhammapada 182 talks about heart is to gain, is the birth of a human being. Heart is the life of mortal. And heart is the opportunity to hear the Dhamma. Rare is the appearance of the Buddha. I think if all else fails, we must not forget Dhammapada 182. Because Dhammapada 182 talks about, the likelihood of the birth of a human being, how rare it is. All right. And, they always give this example about a blind turtle and a yolk that was floating in the sea. And the blind turtle, goes up to the sea to breathe every 100 years. And what is the likelihood of the turtle rising to the top and hitting the yolk, going into the hole of the yolk? That is a possibility of the birth of a human being, right? And of course, the other one here is rare is a opportunity to hear the Dhamma. So, if all else fails, if we can reflect on Dhammapada 1 and 2, you should be grateful to say that you have been reborn as a human being. And of course, the second one here is you still have got the opportunity to hear the Dhamma. All right? So that's all I have today on gratitude. Thank you. Over to you, Brother Terence.
Thank you very much, Brother Seng Huat, for today's sharing. Yeah, it's very right. Yeah, we have to share gratitude to the internet. Yeah, without which,
Without it,
with COVID happening, this session won't happen. Okay, now we have listened to Brother Seng Huat's sharing and did a morning puja. Now let's dedicate some merits to all beings and gratitude. We have, Buddha said, you have been reborn so many lifetimes. There's none out there that we have not come across. So in one way or another, let's share gratitude to them. If they are in higher planes, may they shower the blessings to us. And for those born in woeful planes, we will share these merits and may they rejoice. Now let's compose our minds and I'll shut. Akasuta Jabumata Dewa Naga Mahidika Punyang Tam Anamoditva Chiram Rakan Tulok Kasa Sanang. All beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, having shared these merits, long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Hetavata 𝐶𝐴𝐚 sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. To that extent, by us merits that be acquired and collected. May all deities, all creatures, may all beings rejoice for the achievement of all successes. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontunya sayo. That this marriage occurred to my relatives. May they be well and happy. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. The grace of this marriage that I've acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, until the time I attain final happiness. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you everyone for watching and staying back. For other videos, or past videos, please go to the links below. Bye bye for now. See you all soon.